make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
Coming up on Arirang News, South Korea's first multilateral summit with Africa has come to a close, with agreements to further cooperation in various areas, ranging from setting up a joint economic committee to boost trade to opening up new gateways for businesses. North Korea appears to be raising the idea of reunification. Seoul says there are some signs that Pyongyang has removed the tracks of the Donghae Line Railroad, which was under construction to connect the two Koreas. South Korea's economy expanded by 1.3% in the first 3 months of this year compared to the prior quarter, led by solid exports and a recovery in construction investments. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. President Yoon Suk-yeol's engagements related to the Korea-Africa Summit continued on Wednesday, with him hosting the African Union chair, Mauritania's President Mohamed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani, for an official bilateral summit. The two welcomed the signing of the Trade and Investment Promotion Framework between the two countries and proffered their hopes for the continued enhancement of cooperation. This was an official visit by the Mauritanian president, one of 4 high-level visits that Yoon extended an invitation for. In the meantime, he continued to meet with each head of state visiting South Korea for one-on-one talks, as is customary, greeting 8 leaders throughout Wednesday, including those of Botswana and Comoros. The Korea-Africa Summit wrapped up today with the two sides pledging to strengthen economic ties in a range of areas, from industrial development to climate, through a joint economic committee. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin reports.
South Korea and Africa will establish a joint economic committee to further promote trade between them. The agreement was made in an MOU signed on Wednesday between the Korea International Trade Association and the African Continental Free Trade Area at the 2024 Korea-Africa Business Summit. The event, held in Seoul by South Korea's Trade Ministry, was attended by more than 400 people, including heads of state, business leaders, and economic experts. They discussed key issues such as industrial development, trade expansion, food and mineral security, and climate change. President Yoon Suk-yeol, in his keynote speech, highlighted Africa's vast potential.
2021년 아프리카 대륙 자유무역지대 출범으로 이제 아프리카는 세계 최대 단일 시장으로 발전하고 있습니다. 경제인 여러분께서도 한 아프리카 경제협력위원회를 중심으로 민간 교류를 더욱 활발히 추진해 주시기를 부탁드립니다.
We sat down with the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, who's also one of the speakers, and he emphasized the African Union and South Korea's shared trade and investment opportunities, such as in the auto industry.
If you take, for example, the auto sector, the African continent by the year 2035 will require 5 million units of vehicles per year produced in Africa. Today we are at 1.2 million units of vehicles per year produced in Africa. That means that there's an opportunity to invest to manufacture 4 million units of vehicles by the year 2035. It's an opportunity for Hyundai, for Kia, all of the big auto manufacturers of Korea.
The AFCFTA, one of the biggest, I think, asset of that is that it's one of the biggest single markets. What is South Korea's role in this, and why is it so important and beneficial to have a single large market?
What we propose to South Korea is an alternative market, a fast, dynamic, alternative market for export, for investment. Any country, it is in any country's interests to have a diversified export market and to have a diversified investment market. And so that's what we're offering.
He added that through the Joint Economic Committee, South Korea and Africa will identify beneficial projects in a wide range of areas, including minerals, the digital economy, and infrastructure. 이수진, Arirang News.
Also taking center stage has been the story of innovative young entrepreneurs from Korea and Africa and their future business prospects. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
Under the theme of The Future We Make Together, Shared Growth, Sustainability, and Solidarity, the 2024 Korea-Africa Summit held a wide range of events, and the Youth Startup Forum was one of them. Organized by South Korea's Foreign Ministry, SMEs and Startups Ministry, and the Korea-Africa Foundation, it shared success stories of innovative young entrepreneurs from Korea and Africa.
Africa is a young continent with more than 2/3 of the population under the age of 30. It is looking to solve social problems through innovative and creative ideas. Africa is emerging as a startup powerhouse and is a reliable partner for shared growth.
The 2024 Korea-Africa Youth Startup Forum aims to be a platform for stakeholders such as investors and young startups to build network and exchange ideas. Discussions were held on key policies based on current investment trends in Africa and ways to strengthen cooperation between Korean and African startup companies. More than 200 attendees, including high-ranking officials, public officers, and those from the academia, participated. A member from a fintech startup based in Africa shared her perspective on the rise in collaboration.
Startups are focusing on energy, and then because of the youthful population, is also a service-oriented organization. So service in terms of food, manufacturing, even I said logistics, so mobility. Those are the areas that we have seen people coming, look at the problem very critically because
Governmental organizations are also looking to establish partnerships and strengthen innovation for startups.
We have been working to meet other startup ecosystem development partners to establish linkages that can allow us to connect Korea startups to the Kenyan ecosystem and as well find opportunities for Kenya startups in the Korean market. We believe there are opportunities for funding, for networking, for investments, and as well for scaling up the businesses in both countries.
The forum also shared successful cases of African countries that have benchmarked South Korea's startup ecosystem by fostering a youth training academy program, and it is hoped that the forum will lead to the further development of those ties. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The Korea-Africa Summit also focused on increasing trade and seeking new opportunities for companies. Egypt's Minister of International Cooperation says the country plans to build a stronger partnership with South Korea and welcomes its businesses. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji sat down with her.
Egypt, located in the northeastern corner of Africa, acts as a gateway to three major regions: Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. Its Suez Canal, which carries about 15% of the global trade volume, is the fastest sea route between Europe and most of Asia. Egypt's Minister of International Cooperation, who visited Seoul to take part in the Korea-Africa Summit, says with the Suez Economic Zone, many companies have set up businesses in Egypt to export to Africa, as well as to benefit from the free trade agreements that Egypt has with other countries. She added that the government looks forward to welcoming Korean companies in fields such as those that can contribute to Egypt meet its climate goals.
South Korea is very well known for the technology, so in the ICT sector, the digital transformation is very important for us. Also, when it comes to technology, Water desalination requires a lot of technology, and this is again one of the sectors which is very much in line with the green transition and climate action. Also with respect to the renewable sources of energy, be it wind or solar, is another a very important sector for us.
Samsung Electronics has already had a manufacturing facility in Egypt for more than 10 years now and plans to invest more in the country. Hyundai Rotem, a heavy industry company under the Hyundai Motor Group, won a deal worth more than $600 million in 2022 to supply trains for Cairo's metro lines, in which the minister says has several benefits.
It localizes industrialization, it creates opportunities, it has technology transfer, and it's a very good opportunity for Hyundai to be able to export to the African continent. So it's a very important project for us, and we take it actually as a flagship to think about other ways to also industrialize, to localize other industries within the country.
South Korea and Egypt have had diplomatic relations since 1995 and mark 30 years of diplomatic relations next year.
So in addition to the big companies in Egypt, there are so many other projects which are addressing health, gender, NGOs, etc. So there's a very diverse portfolio that we have with Korea, and I think the 30th anniversary provides a very good opportunity for us to show Koreans and Egyptians how this collaboration and cooperation has been beneficial for both people.
As Egypt plans to build a stronger partnership with South Korea, its state-run airline Egypt Air is also pushing to establish a direct flight between Cairo and Seoul as early as next year. 배은지, Arirang News.
North Korea has reportedly started removing parts of the Donghae Line Railroad that connects to Kumgangsan Mountain. In the meantime, South Korea's military will soon resume exercises near the northwestern islands. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jung-sil reports.
North Korea is reportedly showing another move to erase the idea of reunification. On Wednesday, South Korea's National Intelligence Service said there are some signs of the removal of the tracks of the Donghae Line Railroad and that they are keeping an eye on the related events. No further details were provided by the intelligence agency. A senior Unification Ministry official told Arirang News that the removal of the tracks had likely been carried out in line with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's direct orders earlier this month. Back in January at the Supreme People's Assembly, the North's leader ordered to disconnect the South and North as part of the regime's efforts to eliminate the idea of reunification. The railroad, according to the ministry official, was connecting Daejin Station on South Korea's east coast to North Korea's Mount Kumgang as a symbol of connecting the two Koreas. Pyongyang has recently been spotted removing streetlights and planting landmines in roads connecting the South and North. Meanwhile, taking the government decision to suspend all clauses of the 2018 Inter-Korean Military Agreement, the South Korean military will soon resume drills in areas near the military demarcation line and the Northwest Islands. According to officials, Marines deployed to the Northwest Islands will resume their K-9 self-propelled artillery drills this month for the first time in nearly 6 years. Army drills within 5 kilometers of the MDL and near the northern limit line would also resume shortly. Seoul's decision to suspend the military agreement came on Tuesday amid North Korea's continued provocations. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
The U.S. flew one of its long-range B-1B bombers over the Korean peninsula on Wednesday as part of a joint exercise with the South Korean Air Force. The Ministry of National Defense said the bomber dropped joint direct attack munitions during the combined drill for the first time in 7 years. This has been reported to be a response to the North's recent provocations, including flying balloons filled with trash over the border and a warning against any further aggressive behavior. The Defense Ministry also said the exercise demonstrated the U.S. extended deterrence commitment to South Korea and their strengthened joint defense readiness. North Korea's nuclear program at present remains as threatening as it did in the past. Now, this is according to U.S. President Joe Biden while speaking to an American news magazine. Lee Si-hoo has more.
U.S. President Joe Biden, in an interview with Time magazine last week, said that North Korea's nuclear program is equally as threatening as it was before. When asked whether the situation was getting worse, he added he does not think it's more threatening. The president said that, quote, as long as there are nuclear weapons available, it's always going to be a problem, adding that former U.S. President Donald Trump was wrong in not wanting to work early on 5 years ago. When asked if it's American policy to live with a nuclear or near-nuclear Iran and North Korea, Biden confirmed that it isn't. President Biden further mentioned his visit to South Korea, quote, to reclaim the chips industry, and said the U.S. has secured $865 billion in private sector investments during his presidency. The interview took place at the White House on May 28th, where Biden spoke extensively about his foreign policy agenda. Its full transcript was released on Tuesday. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Israel's continued strikes on central and southern Gaza have reportedly killed at least 19 people, including 2 policemen who were protecting humanitarian workers in Rafah. Local medics reported at least 17 people died on Tuesday from Israeli attacks on 2 refugee camps, Al-Baray and Al-Maghazi, in a city in central Gaza. Local residents say tanks were attacking an area near Al-Nusayrat camp that night. Earlier in the day, the Israeli military said that airstrikes were targeting Hamas militant sites in central Gaza, and ground force operations were being conducted in the area of Al-Baray. Over in the U.S., Congressman Andy Kim has won the Democratic Senate primary in New Jersey. Analysts say that he has a strong chance of becoming the first Korean-American senator. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
U.S. House Representative from New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District, Andy Kim, defeated 2 other candidates, former labor leader Patricia Campos Medina and social justice activist Lawrence Ham, in Tuesday's primary and became the Democrats' pick for New Jersey senator for the November 5th election. If Kim wins in November's election, he would become the first Korean American to be elected to the U.S. Senate. The state of New Jersey has voted for a Democratic Senate candidate since 1972, so pundits are giving Kim a strong chance of winning the seat. Representative Kim said on social media after his primary win that he's very thankful for the incredible win and what he achieved over the last 8 months was remarkable. Kim will be facing Republican nominee Curtis Boshaw and the incumbent Democrat Senator Robert Menendez, who facing federal corruption charges, filed to run as an independent on Monday. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's economy grew by 1.3% in the first 3 months of this year compared to the prior quarter, led by solid exports and a recovery in construction investments. Our correspondent Moon Hye-ryun has the latest.
South Korea's economy expanded in the first quarter to show promising growth on the back of booming exports. According to data released by the Bank of Korea on Friday, the country's gross domestic product grew 1.3% on quarter between January and March, the same as the advanced estimate given at the end of April. This is the largest on-quarter hike recorded in over 2 years, breaking a sluggish growth trend of below 1%. A downturn in exports led to a contraction of 0.5% in the fourth quarter of 2022, but immediately bounced back up to record 5 straight quarters of growth. Construction investment saw a large rise due to recovery in civil and building construction, jumping by 3.3%. A turnaround in semiconductor exports was also reflected in the latest data, with the IT sector and petroleum goods contributing to the overall rise of 1.8% for exports. Government consumption also expanded by 0.8% on the back of increased expenditure on goods. However, facility investment fell by 2%, while imports also dropped by 0.4% on the back of lower natural gas prices. Meanwhile, the country's gross national income, the total earned by people and businesses, was up 2.4% from the fourth quarter of last year. Net foreign income, calculated by subtracting the income earned by foreigners in the country from the total income earned by Koreans from foreign sources, tallied up to the same as the previous quarter. The agency explained that the GNI overall saw a rise due to improving trade conditions, which reduced trade losses for the country. The topic of when and how the country's GNI per capita will surpass $40,000 has been raised for some time now, after $36,194 was recorded in 2023. A spokesperson from the agency said this.
It's difficult to say exactly when we'll reach that goal because GNI per capita is dependent on so many factors such as real income, GDP deflator, inward and outward remittances, and the foreign exchange market. But should the country's currency stabilize, we predict that it should be possible within a few years.
As of 2023, the country ranked 6th in the world in terms of GNI per capita, between Italy and Taiwan. 문혜련, Arirang News.
The head of U.S.-based firm ActGeo, which is in charge of analyzing potential offshore oil and gas reserves in the EC, arrived in South Korea today for talks on the exploration project. Victor Abreu, owner of the Texas-based research firm, will meet with the Korea National Oil Corporation and government officials. He expressed confidence in the economic value of the potential discovery amid controversies concerning reliability and mentioned that there were new data to analyze with plans to address further questions at a press conference on Friday. Last year, the government commissioned ActGeo to study potential deposits off Pohang's coast, and it reported findings of up to 14 billion barrels of oil and gas, leading President Yoon Suk-yeol to approve exploratory drilling in the area. Arirang's new CEO, Kim Tae-jung, officially started his term on Wednesday. During his inauguration speech, Kim said he would work to establish the company's clear legal status and position Arirang as Korea's leading globally competitive international broadcaster over his 3-year term, which runs until June 2027. Kim previously led Arirang's Video Content Expert Assistance Center and has since worked in video content distribution. The Culture Ministry expressed hope that his extensive field experience would help strengthen Arirang's capabilities as Korea's leading international broadcaster and provide a blueprint for its long-term development.
It's already the third part of summer, Mangjong. Therefore, the sun is very hot today. Memorial Day tomorrow is expected to be just as hot as today. The daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 31 degrees Celsius. This is as hot as midsummer weather in early August. Along with summer heat tomorrow, there will be showers in Gangwon-do and Jeollanam-do provinces and Jeju Island. The amount of rain may not be large, but it may be accompanied by thunderstorms and gusts. In particular, please be careful of heavy rain that could be concentrated in mountainous areas for a short time. Tomorrow, Chuncheon, Gwangju, and Busan will start off at 17 degrees. It will move up to 30 degrees in Chuncheon, Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju, 28 degrees. On this weekend, most parts of the country will have rain forecasts. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a great night.
Welcome.